they don't tell you that your pastor is the mouthpiece of God.
Yeah, but a Mormon would say, and I'm curious what you would say, like the the Mormon community is different and probably superior to a lot of non-denominational communities in terms of like the service it provides and the scope and robustness of the community.
I
Like
actually,
you might find a good church.
no, that's something that Mormonism always taught me, and was one of the wildest things that I discovered in the first year after leaving, was how many churches do a million times better jobs than Mormons.
Yeah, my
The
argument would probably just
best
be on an
functioning church
average.
ever. I thought I was like,
Yeah,
oh,
yeah.
you just can't get better than the way the Mormons are doing it. Oh my gosh, yes, you can. Every church camp that's run that's not EFY, every church service with a pastor that's actually been somewhat educated on what they're about to preach about is better than your standard, church member up there pontificating on whatever subject the bishop has announced they should give a talk on. Like, it's 10 times better and more functioning
Yeah.
and better run and better systems in place, and the entire just structure of how other churches do it is actually, in my mind, so superior to the way that it's almost painful to go back to Mormon services sometimes.
So what about this? Again, this is my last comment on this, being the devil's advocate, and it's you may have a good community in your church as a non-denominational Christian, but it doesn't translate to other churches in other places because inherently they are non-denominational. So like your priest isn't connected to in a hierarchy that then you go to Utah and go to a church that guy and that community is also your community.
Yeah. Well,
Kind of how
that's
Mormonism
what they
does.
would say. That's what they would say. Actually, that's the strength, because
Okay.
the church, one of the things I realized was so different when Mormonism refers to the church, they're talking about the church is the Mormon church, right? And it's this one thing. And when stepping out more into what I've seen and more, and I don't pretend at all to speak. I don't even know if I'm not speaking for non-denominational Christianity, and I don't even know what all these different things mean necessarily. But I have always heard the explanation that the church is anywhere. It's just any community of believers is the church. So there is no such thing as a disconnect between churches. It's just we are all the church. Like anyone who believes, wherever you're at, whether you're in a building, out of a building, whether you go to this church or to that church, the church is just the group of the community of believers in humanity that you can reference as the church. Now, I know that that's not used in lingo that way. People will say, what church do you go to? Or what church do you attend? And they're meaning an actual building. But as far as what the church means in that theological sense, it's just the congregation,
the body of people that are coming together to worship. Like,
yeah.
Yeah. So do you go to church, and can you explain maybe just a few like superficial differences that you enjoy, or maybe something you miss about Mormon service or anything like that?
Yeah. We do attend church, and sporadically, we're not really militant about it needs to be every Sunday. But one of the things I kept from Mormonism was that sort of, boundary around Sunday, like that something is different about Sunday and should be, that it's a day of rest. It's a day of reflection. It's a day of worship. So for our family, the way we've kind of translated it is that we do family day. We go to church some Sundays. We go on hikes. We call it nature church. We just go get out in the beautiful creation, talk about how beautiful it is, talk about whatever. And so we definitely participate. I view attending church as participation in community, and participation in community specifically with the purpose of praise and thanks for our life. So the thing I love the most about stepping out of Mormonism and into kind of like standard non-denominational Christianity, their worship music is killer. It's so good. I'm like stiff as a board, like as a Mormon coming from our very like reverent church. And I don't know why we always assumed that the only way God wants to hear us worship is through hymns from the 19th century with an organ, and that everything else is a little too.
I think they're working on a new hymnal.
Are they? Well, you'd always get like some of the edgier. Like I remember I tried to listen to
Were you
Let's
ever
say
the war pianist?
Saber Rattlers, or who was some of the other? There's some like Provo-y cool Mormon bands that do some good stuff. But I mean, Christian worship music is a full immersion, uh, sensory, emotional experience that produces some level of catharsis. Whether you're a believer or not, it's a really cool thing to go experience live. And
Well, what's funny, and I feel like it's telling about the Mormon church is we went to Catholic high school, and even the Catholics who are still pretty proper, I thought their music was like, I'm like, wow, this is fun. Yeah. Like compared to our and I know
yeah.
non-denominational is even more I don't know, free or, you know,
Oh my gosh,
passionate.
it never dawned on me that it was like I'm not there. I'm not the person that's ever like this at a worship service, but I'm not gonna lie, I've felt the urge to be like, so throw up my hands. It's so good, like good to be alive, good to be here. But I'm still the best I do is I'm just a swayer. Like I just love to listen and slay. Where when we first went, it was just very stiff, like wow. And they looked like, to me, some people look crazy to me. I was just like, oh my gosh. I mean, some people are just sort of more charismatic in that way. I'm more comfortable though witnessing it now and even just appreciating that it's a beautiful thing that music can move on your body in that way and make you feel so alive and good in the same way that you would get at a rock concert, right? Or at some really good band, only they're not singing about sex and drugs and
Sounds boring.
naked women's butts. It's singing about God. It's singing about the beauty of life and redemption and starting fresh and that it's never too late and just so many uplifting, hopeful lyrics that I will go for that experience alone.